Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you, and on this video I will be talking about the third episode of the Showtime series, Your Honor. So, warning, if you've not seen this episode, I will be going into full spoilers from the beginning, and I think this was probably my least favourite of the three episodes so far. It was still good. I still enjoyed it and got a lot out of what was happening. And obviously, the case is developing, and we're getting a bit more from the other side, the crime family now, which obviously I was a bit down on last week. And actually, I still think that might be some of the weakest stuff, but we're at least opening that up a bit more now. But I think overall, out of the three so far, this was my least favourite, just because I think there were certain scenes that were a bit over the top and kind of just too on the nose, a bit too forced, and just certain things which I'll obviously talk about. I will say actually, the episode opens with an absolute corker of a joke, one of the best jokes I've seen on TV recently, and it's because it opens with a scene with the Michael character talking to this bar fight. Basically, they're in a bar, and it's kind of him doing his sort of smooth talking sort of routine, where he obviously puts on this act. He sort of is quite sort of charming and sort of pretends to talk to this more working class, like, typical character on his level as a way to get him on his side. And he passes it off as obviously just two guys in a bar just talking, connecting. But secretly, he knows what he's doing. He set this up. He's using this guy for his own ends. And what it is basically the guy works at the garage. So Michael's actually staked him out and looked him up, and he works at the garage where Adam would have been caught on their like video footage the day of the incident, and it's sort of, we see later than the video shows him talking on the phone, and obviously this contradicts part of their story because Adam didn't come clean about trying to call the police or trying to call his father, I think it was, and didn't come clean about the phone, and obviously the phone's been like thrown away, because it can be used as evidence against Adam, and the fact that he was involved in everything. So basically, Michael is cozying up to this bar sorry, put my false teeth in, this barfly, so that he can then go back to where he works, and he basically wants to get rid of the video footage. But the joke I was talking about, which was absolutely brilliant, is at one point Michael uses this quote, and it's a Dylan Thomas quote, and after he says Dylan Thomas, like just at the end of the quote, the guy, he introduces himself thinking that Michael's name is Dylan Thomas. So after that, he just refers to him as Dylan, which is absolutely brilliant. And Michael, as soon as he realises what he's done, he tries to correct him, but the other guy's obviously off on one and talking over him and stuff. So it then just becomes a running gag that he calls him Dylan. But that, again, we're definitely getting further into seeing the sort of lengths that Michael goes to get what he wants and to like sort of save his son. And there's a bit of tension with I think his name's Walter in this episode, or Charlie, sorry, the judge friend of Michael who sort of got this thing started, and it's because of all this this potential that they could sort of get found out with the car and stuff, and the kid being arrested and now on trial. And what happens is, in the episode, his lawyer, the one who obviously Michael like asked, can you represent him? We think because of a guilty conscience, but with Michael, who the hell knows? I mean, he could have been working his own end with that, but he got her to represent him at the end of the last episode, and he obviously initially pleaded guilty under threat from the other side, saying we'll go after your family, basically, if you don't fess up to this. But in this, his lawyer, who actually comes off as quite a strong character, for a female and African American lawyer, we really get a sense of just how ambitious she is, and how she isn't just going to take the easy sort of offer she actually does want to get the best possible result, and says, we've got a case here, if you change your plea. She tries to get him to change his sort of plea, and she starts talking to the district attorney and just points out certain things, and points out that it's actually not a clear-cut case, and there are sort of grey areas, and also points out just some of the political ramifications of this kind of, I think, just of this poor, like, African American kid from the wrong side of the tracks, just being sort of like, just discriminated against, and just banged up for all these years. She basically claims that like diminished capacity, that kind of thing, and it becomes this thing in the episode where there's a little bit of tension, and they're waiting on the district attorney's decision, but ultimately he comes out on the Kofi, I think is Kofi, the character's name, his side. And I'll get to what happens at the end of the episode, but basically he does agree to throw out the case. He says there's enough ambiguity, and obviously the lawyer talks him round, and he throws out the case because of like small details which contradict like the other side's story. And so he's about to be paroled at the end of the episode, like the next day, or let out, I should say. But anyway, getting back to what I was, Charlie at this point is really frantic. He's upset with Michael, basically. Michael comes into like a shop or something where Charlie's giving this grandiose speech, and they go in the back, and Charlie just rips into him. It's like he's just very nervous about what happens if Kofi says any more, because basically the whole thing is that if they can get it thrown out of court and that's just it, Kofi goes free, then that sort of works out for all sides, I guess, as long as he then doesn't later talk and puts Michael in the shit, Michael and Adam. But certainly for the time being, I think it sort of clears Michael's conscience as well, if he can. It sort of works out in many ways, because it means that Adam doesn't go to jail, but it also means he doesn't have to feel bad about having this wrongly convicted guy banged up. But Charlie's really nervous about it, and he's really pissed with Michael for getting him involved, because it's like, what happens if he opens up more, if they ask him more and he opens up and actually gives more details? What happens then, sort of thing? And obviously Michael's trying to say, no, it won't come to that. It'll either get thrown out or it won't. But if it gets thrown out, then that's that, really. They'll just be happy. So, and obviously Charlie's really pissed. It's a really good performance from the actor, who's been in a bunch of stuff, but I really enjoyed that scene in the back. But yeah, there's a turn in this with like the Baxter family, and I think I quite like the turn, and it's basically that the Hope Davis, the wife character, sort of runs the family. Actually, she's the one with the power, which isn't like original. That sort of turn has been done before, but I did like the way it played out in this, and I like Hope Davis as an actress. So if it means we're going to get more of her, then that's pretty great. But that was quite well done, like the contrast. So on the one hand, Jimmy, who you sort of thought was the more sinister one and the more threatening one, it's almost like he's resigned to just giving up, and that's that, and let things play out. They play out. Whereas the Hope Davis character, his wife, is more sort of stern and aggressive, and basically saying, you know, let's be aggressive, let's go after them, sort of thing, and just taking control. And what happens in this episode is that, as it turns out, their other son, obviously the one who's still alive, he's also on trial. He's also potentially facing a prison sentence. And I think this is where the drama starts to get a little bit contrived and a bit clunky, because you again get another racial element where it's like a black judge and what have you, and again there's a bit of like racial tension going on. But what happens is they're trying to put pressure on like the district attorney to let him out for the trial, the other son, not the trial, sorry, the let him out so that he can go to his brother's funeral. And I think this is just where it's a bit over the top, where you see again the Davis character in the hallway, and she's almost like using the religious angle and pleading with the judge just to, as a mother basically, but also putting religious type pressure on him. See sense, come on, let my son go to his brother's funeral, let we be together as a family. And obviously you can guess that she's going to talk him round, and you have this big funeral scene later on where he's there, they let him out the truck, but obviously he's in his like get up, and they've got him handcuffed and stuff. But just and I think it plays into a plan that they've got later. But just certain things, like at one point she goes up and she wants to hug her son, and she's getting really aggressive. When the guards are saying, no, sorry, you can't do this, you got to keep. She's getting really aggressive, and again, good performance from Davis. But then Jimmy gets involved, and yeah, she just tries to say, you have no idea, if you were ever a mother or a parent, you wouldn't be treating us like this. And they sort of persuade them to let her hug her son, and she whispered something, which again I think is going to come into play. But just certain moments like that, I thought they could have dialed it down a bit. I think obviously this is the sort of thing where I don't think it's going for the most realistic, grounded type drama, and it's sort of more satirical in a way, and a bit more pulpy, but which is fine if that's what they're going for, and I'm enjoying it so far. But I just think certain moments like that scene was a bit too far in some ways. But it's good that we're at least seeing more of Hope Davis, because she's really underrated. She's really great. But in any case, it sort of builds to this sort of end scene where we're obviously one day away from Kofi being released. They've sort of thrown the case out. And there's also this thing where Michael was like phoned ahead, and he's asked for them, can they protect him, because he knows about the funeral and about the other Baxter kid coming back from the funeral back into prison, and he's just worried about obviously them going after Kofi. So he asks Kofi for, obviously again he's using his influence, but yeah. And the guy agrees on the other end of the phone, but then there's some sort of contrivance where I think things get busy, or for whatever reason he doesn't do it, and Kofi again is put in danger. There's a scene where he's two kind of guards who are working for the Baxters go after him, and luckily he's saved by this other guard who's on his side. But then you do get this end scene, which is basically a stand-up where he's like isolated. And again, you've got to remember this is the night before his release, so obviously they're doing this to create drama and tension. But they isolate and they come to him, and he basically walks up to the cell of the other Baxter kid, and he introduces himself, and that's how we end. And it's a nice end. It's just very sort of striking, but it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. The other stuff with Adam, just a few short bits, and I didn't actually realise, but I'm pretty certain from the way the previously on is edited in this episode and just certain things. I think the young looking hot teacher who Adam and his friend were talking about last time, I think she's actually Adam's I don't know if girlfriend is the right word, but she's the one Adam's seeing in the first episode at the very beginning when you see them in bed together. I think, yeah, that's her basically. So it's the same person. I never clicked last week, but I think that's... And it talks about how since his mother died, she's become like a mother figure for Adam. So there's something quite perverse about that. But yeah, we get a bit more about their relationship and how close they sort of are and how important she's become in his life. And I think I'm pretty sure Michael doesn't have any clue about their sort of relationship, but she obviously encourages him with his art and things like that. But there's a scene where Michael is basically close to telling her the truth about what really happened. So there's that. There's also this scene, because Michael's whole thing, sorry, not Michael, Adam's whole thing in this episode is that he's really downbeat, really traumatized and struggling with the fact that someone else is essentially going to potentially take the blame for what he did, and he can't deal with that. But there's a nice scene where they use Joy Division's "Love Will Tear You Apart," so you get these isolated scenes, and then he imagines it basically. Then he's just in, I think, like the classroom or his bedroom, and he's just like dancing about to it. He's got it on the headphones, and it's just this moment of release, but it turns out to be in his head. And I appreciated that scene, because I think if I have another small complaint is just the fact that I think over the last cut, I think it's just a bit too downbeat. I think at times the tone is a bit one note, and you could just do with a bit more cinematic flushes like that and use of music. Because obviously the first episode was very cinematic, it was very tense and things like that, and it's a well directed drama and very solid in what it's doing. But the last two episodes, I think, has been less so in that, I think. So that was a welcome moment, but yeah, I would like to maybe see more moments like that. It's so funny because for those of you who caught the stream the other night, my pilot stream, when I did the Alias pilot, you'll know that there's a version of that song that pops up in that pilot as well. So I've sort of heard two versions of it this week on a TV show. So I tell you, as I said on that stream, Joy Division or the living members of Joy Division must make a killing every time that pops up on the show or film. So there you have it. But that's episode 3. Solid stuff again. It was my least favourite, but overall I'm still liking it, and we'll continue with it. So that's episode 3 of Your Honour. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you've been following along with me. Like and subscribe. You can also get me up on Twitter at KeithBeard if you have any questions or any suggestions for things I can review in the future. And also, if you want to ding the bell on YouTube, then that'll give you notifications for when I go live or when I post another video. And speaking of live streams and regular live streams, as I mentioned, every Wednesday I do a pilot stream where I watch and react to a different TV pilot. Last couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, I did the Lost pilot, so a double watch of that. You can find the stream of that. That was a few weeks ago. Last week, week before, so I actually did the Fringe pilot, which sadly YouTube have taken down, but I did do that. And then last week, as I said, Alias, so sort of a J.J. Ambrose type feel. And next week I will be doing... God, it's gone out of my head now. What am I doing? Oh, I'm doing a new show, which is this show called The One, this sci-fi show, which is on Netflix. Came out the last couple of weeks. It's getting some decent buzz, so I'm going to do the pilot of that next week. So that's nice and easy to get hold of. And the week after that, I'm going to do Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, the pilot to that. So there's some contrast there. So if you want to join in the fun on a Wednesday night, then please do so, and you can get updates on my Twitter account and things like that. So all good fun. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.